Peace. We are discussing in this video Pluto and Capricorn transiting your 8th house. Now, this is the house to do with all the good and juicy Plutonian influences. So we're talking about taxes and inheritances and joint resources and joint ventures, but also sex and deep, transformative sexual experiences to do with ecstasy and eroticism. We're also talking about mystery, and we're talking about the taboo, those things that are hidden from us in a lot of ways. And what I want to point out before we get deep into the video is, first of all, never take one particular transit or aspect and attempt to make an assumption about yourself or another person. You want to look at your full natal chart, consider what other planets are in the house, what other aspects are being made, and other factors would contribute to understanding what is currently happening in your life when you look at your natal chart. So just use discernment in that regard. But what did I want to say? Yes, so the number 8, if you turn it on its side, we get this infinity symbol. So in talking about the 8th house, this symbol will help you to kind of understand and identify what this energy is about. So when you trace this symbol, it represents momentum, it represents power. So Pluto in and of itself is this planet that's associated with power and housing power and feeling empowered and asserting ourselves, and it's very magnetic. Because it's like if you put your hand too close to a engine or generator or blender, it's almost like it gets sucked right in. So Pluto can have this sort of magnetic appeal where it may not be good for us, where we get sucked into something that's not so good for us, but it's magnetic nonetheless. So you're looking at power, and throughout this transit, you would have been in some very major power struggles to do with your assets, your resources. Your partner could have really stirred up some issues in the relationship if your partner is, possibly hiding things. So during this transit, as I mentioned, it's a long-term transit. So some of the scenarios I'm mentioning may or may not apply to you, but just, take what you need. So our partnerships, our joint ventures and joint goals and joint resources with Pluto here in Capricorn, you may have found yourself in court, to do with getting your fair share of assets, valuables, or loan. What's the word I'm looking for? Not loans. I don't know. It'll come to me. But your partner may have something that you feel you deserve a portion of. And with Capricorn dealing with authority figures and government, facilities and these things, you could have found yourself in court dealing with issues, that your partner was hiding things from you, keeping inheritance money a secret, or had other accounts, or you'd been bamboozled in some way by somebody who, you couldn't really trust. So the number 8 in gematria, there's actually 3 key words that equal 8 in gematria. So the word trust, when you write it out and add up the letters, you should get the number 8, as well as the word hope and the word faith. So what's significant about that as it pertains to this 8th house? Well, this is a house where you have to utilize these 3 things in order to really bond and connect and have a true and lasting union with your partner. Resources, many of you, if you feel like I don't have a lot, there's nothing I'm not willing to part with. Some people have a lot of resources, like they have assets, they have property, they have mortgages, they have a lot, and it would take a lot for them to want to share that with another person if they don't really have a strong connection with them. So it's not so easy to hand over or share resources. And with Pluto here, issues to do with trust, like I don't trust my partner enough to let them know I have an extra account, some other foreign account, or I don't trust my partner enough to even open up to them sexually where we can take our experience together to another level. So issues to do with trust, issues to do with hope even. Capricorn can be a bit of a downer. This sprinkle of Capricornian energy could make you a bit depressed and could make you feel hopeless. Capricorn could be a bit hopeless and pessimistic at times, like, oh, nothing's going to work out, and these people aren't going to do this, and, my dad didn't leave me any money, and you can just be sort of pessimistic. And what needs to be developed during this transit is your inner strength, inner fortitude to go against that negativity that not only Pluto but Capricorn can invite in your life. We need to trust people. We have to have certain relationships and partnerships in life that force us to open up. And if you ever want to have an intimate connection with someone, then you're going to realize the value in making yourself vulnerable, sharing your resources and assets and things and your secrets. When we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about psychology and mystery and the depths of the human spirit. So there could be knowledge that you have that maybe you're not willing to share with others. And during this Pluto transit, you may meet some people that kind of spark that desire for you to open up a little bit more, share some things that you know. Whereas before, there was no one in your cipher that you felt you could trust with the knowledge you have. It could be metaphysical knowledge, or you might have theories that you want to share with people, but haven't really felt optimistic enough or hopeful enough to open up and express these theories you have, this knowledge you have. So, there could be areas in your life where you're actually preventing growth and structure even in your relationships. Pluto can certainly create a self-sabotaging attitude and self-sacrificing attitude. So you're going to need to examine this for yourself to see how over the next few years, as we round out this transit, you're letting go of some old fixed behaviors and conditioning as it pertains to how you trust, how you let in, how you make yourself vulnerable. Eighth house is about vulnerability, and that's so uncomfortable for people, especially men. I don't want to make myself vulnerable. I don't want to open up. I don't want to share what I have with this woman, or I don't want to cry in front of this woman. And Pluto here may have put you in a scenario where you experience something extreme, possibly the loss of a loved one that would have forced you to make yourself vulnerable, to break down in front of someone, to cry in front of someone, to give more of yourself sexually than you've ever done before as you're going through a process of healing. So Scorpio can heal through sex. Scorpio is about regeneration, and sexual intimacy is not just sex for those with this Plutonian influence in the eighth house right now. Sex is not just sex for Scorpios. Like, they experience and see it as something that goes beyond the physical realm. So when we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about otherworldly experiences, and they don't all have to be bad or of the underworld. They could just be otherworldly. So you're exploring parts of yourself with this transit that awakens in you this interest in mystery, or in your own, mysterious nature. Things about yourself that you've always been curious about. Your just human existence, period, could have been sparked during this transit. And you may have even found yourself in seclusion or in isolation, or if it has to do with your sexuality, you may have taken some time to, just be celibate, to be abstinent, and to protect your energy during this time. Because, as I mentioned, with Pluto transiting here in this house of sex, you could have had some very difficult sexual experiences, whether you were taken advantage of, raped, abused, molested, or you thought you could trust someone and you opened up to them and they, scarred you. They did something that betrayed you. Or you had a partner in your life that you trusted and you made yourself vulnerable, gave your partner everything, key to the house, bank accounts, whatever, and they abandoned you, or they stabbed you in the back in some way. So this could be a wonderful opportunity to heal, so that you now stand a lot taller in spite of the experiences that you've had, that you actually are more empowered, ironically, from the traumatic and difficult experience. That's what Pluto endows us with, because it does create power struggles. We want to be in control and empowered, but at the same time, there's a certain relinquishing of power that is necessary, or a relinquishing of control that is necessary for us to really harness power in the way that we should. It's about a balance. So we're going to learn that need for give and take as humans. And with Pluto transiting your eighth house, you're going to realize it's not always about hoarding all of your knowledge. As I mentioned, if it has to do with the knowledge you have, knowledge is power. And maybe you want all of that power. You don't want to share your secrets and your knowledge with others. And so you're having to relinquish some of that power and open up to others, because what good is it for you if you don't share it? So with this house of joint ventures and joint goals, you're recognizing the need to participate with another soul on your journey, on your soul journey. And you have likely had to deal with some losses, people being cut out of your life that are not moving you in the direction of soul growth and soul evolution in this area of joint partnerships, and that need to depend on other people beyond our mundane necessities. This is depending on other people on a soul level. So what else would have come with this transit? As I mentioned with Capricorn, you could have really dealt with some psychological issues during this transit, because Pluto deals with deep psychology, depth psychology. So you could have felt that you were kind of going a little crazy during this transit. And Capricorn is about structure, and it is about, discipline and consistency and, just a certain awareness. So it's not this sort of energy where you're fantasizing and you're in illusion and you're not sure what's going on. But Pluto, however, can create this sort of chaos because these are contrasting energies. Pluto is a bit rebellious. Capricorn is like, go by the rules. Pluto wants you to get out of your comfort zone and open up. And Capricorn can be like, wait, we have boundaries here and there's a door and you need a key. So you could have felt inner conflict and inner tension and inner struggles as you're trying to identify, what for you feels like hope, trust, faith, what for you feels like good decisions, and what for you feels like the truth even. So when we're talking about mystery, you could have been on a quest to learn the truth, on YouTube for hours and studying and reading and absorbing all this knowledge and information, and it could have kind of got to you a little bit during this transit. You would have experienced some type of fluctuation. So when we're talking about that infinity symbol, we're looking at extremes. We're creating highs and lows at any given moment. It could just be this sort of wave of energy coming at us, and it could create this conflict, inner conflict. So you certainly could have gone through that with your close, personal, intimate relationships. You could have gone through that while you were studying knowledge and exploring mystery and mysticism and psychology. You could have gone through that with just literally like your day-to-day dealings with your partner when it comes to your resources and what things you to have and how you're going to divide these things up and what's fair and what's the truth. Things will come to the surface. The truth will come out with Pluto. Again, if there was any secrecy in your partnership to do with resources, knowledge, these things will come to the surface. So manipulation and cunning and scheming and trying to get more out of our relationships than what we've put in or what we've earned. Although we shouldn't look at relationships as work, but it is about earning trust. We do have to earn trust when we're dealing with people's vulnerabilities, because this is such a sensitive area of the human soul, people's secrets. And in order to have really deep and intimate and transformative sexual experiences, for most people, it comes a little later in life, simply because you've had to sift through a lot of the childish debris of, just human interaction, where you're in it for something, you're in the sexual experience, or you're participating in the sexual experience for something that is, it doesn't go beyond just your connection to your identity. So I know that sounds a bit abstract, but take, for example, you have yourself and you represent yourself a certain way, project yourself a certain way, and you relate to your identity a certain way. When you're having a deep and intimate sexual experience, what is being let go in that moment is any identifications, to include how you identify yourself. How do you even identify with your body? You can have an absolute experience where you're merging with another soul and you're no longer seeing and connecting with this physical body merely for the physical pleasure and sensation, but you're actually going deeper and you're seeing, wow, there's a whole nother layer. There's a whole nother level to merging with someone that now I feel even more fulfilled. So you can even go through an experience of having certain voids filled during this transit, not solely because some person came along, a partner came along to share all of themselves and their resources with you and kind of fill you up. No, it's a very much a part of you filling up, like a well within you is being filled up, and you can feel it coming up in you, but you needed that partner to stimulate you in a way to get that well to rise. So this could manifest for you in areas where you're a lot more generous and a lot more giving and a lot more receptive to your partner. And you guys can set goals with each other moving in the future as far as, financial goals and just what resources and assets you want to create and build for yourself, because you've connected on a deeper level. So again, depending on other aspects, like let's say, for example, you have Pluto and there's aspects made to the ninth house, to do with our inspirations and our dreams and our hopes and even illusion and our fantasies are here. So you may find that you're having a lot more sexual fantasies and perverted thoughts, or very explicit and erotic thoughts randomly, during this transit. You could have been experiencing an uptick in just sexual thoughts and, wouldn't have been in your awareness right away. It could have been something that's just gradually increased where you're like, wow, I'm thinking about this way more. Or it could be with, let's say, a sixth house transit, to do with your health. That during this transit, you actually can, if you're open to it and present enough, take advantage of the opportunity to heal your physical body through sexual intimacy. Like actually heal your organs and heal your emotions, your emotional body. But physically, you can heal your body through sexual intimacy, but it needs to be, it's not on some low magic, you're doing some low magic with some random person and working with crystals. And not to say that that's wrong, but there's, with the sexual intimacy with a person, and it's a soul connection, and you don't need any tools, you don't need any magic, you don't need any of that. It's a complete and utter surrender. And this is what empowers you. This is how Pluto will empower you, because you're being initiated. The eighth house is the house of secrets and mystery and death, as I mentioned, and taxes. So when I'm saying taxes, let's look at it beyond just the taxes we have to pay, legally. I'm looking at it in terms of what things are taxing on us that we can't avoid it. There are certain things in life that are very taxing, and there are times in life where we can be very taxing on other people. We can tax their energy and just demand a lot. So you're having to look at what areas of life that you're either overtaxing others, you're being taxed by others in a way that is unhealthy or uncomfortable or whatever. And so Pluto will create a cutting ties of these individuals. Pluto can also create or cut off in us this tendency to be that way, because we can go through some humbling experiences with this transit that can put a stop to bad behavior, manipulative behavior, old patterns of behavior, old conditioning. But depending on the aspect, it can create it more in us. Like it can boost in us those sort of taboo and negative sides to our characteristics. As I mentioned, just more perverted, a more perverted stance on sexuality than, we would accept, I guess, or tolerate in society. And that can manifest however you can imagine it. So Pluto can stir up, some of these things in us that, we have to check if we've been exposed to something that is interrupting our energy body, and we're projecting, negativity and this just sort of aggressiveness where we want to take what we want and we want to exploit others. And we're seeking this healing sexual experience, but it's coming across as this domineering, very inappropriate and attack. What is the word I'm looking for? Assertive energy, where you kind of attack others with your energy. So it can manifest with this Pluto transit. And the same is with those of you who are not able to speak up for yourself about, what you feel you're worth. Not second house, where it's like our self-value in these things, but with your partner, you have to know that in this partnership, this 8 symbol is representing that polarity, but it's also about balance. So you have to be willing to know that you deserve and you have a place in your partnership that deserves an equal share, that you want to contribute your ideas toward the goals of your partnership or your family, like, this is what I need to discuss with my partner so that our family can move in this direction. And you want to be a part of that before maybe you didn't speak up, or your partner kind of took over the relationship and making all the major decisions about resources and assets. And even when you guys are going to, be intimate, or what you guys are going to study in the household as far as spirituality. Like, oh, we're going to be this. This is our religion. This is what it is. That person pays the bills. That person handles everything. And you maybe get a little bit of the resources, That is not... You don't want to move forward with that perspective on this is all that it is for me, or this is how relationships should be, partnerships should be, because that's not true. It's about adjusting our stance and being more assertive and empowered ourselves so that we can actually make it known, hey, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, this is what I'm deserving, and your partnerships will excuse me. So lastly, as I mentioned, we're rounding out this transit, so things should be really looking up for you in terms of your communication and connection with those around you, your partner specifically, how you're listening. You have to listen to spirit when it comes to navigating through difficult transits, and that's key. And it can be hard to do because many of us are like, I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to sound like. Like, what does spirit sound like? But you would know intuitively, or even just through a little bit more awareness, just being present with yourself, what feels like a good decision and what feels like a self-sabotaging, sacrificing, sudden death type decision. So just be sensible and be present with yourself. And this is a daily practice that we all are enduring. So I wanted to share this video with you guys on Pluto and Capricorn transiting your 8th house. You certainly are rebuilding and restructuring things for yourself moving forward in this area of relationship, partnerships, joint resources, sex, and merging with your partner through sexual intimacy for healing and transformation. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, peace.